All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this introduction to Snowflake session. Thank you so much for being here and listening to me today. This is actually my first time presenting in a setting like this, so to me it's a little bit special. So thank you for being here. I thought I would start by introducing myself a little bit. So my name is Lisa Olson. I'm a strategy and analytics analyst on the marketing intelligence team at Snowflake. But before we go in a little bit more of what I do at my job, I thought I'd introduce more of the personal side of me as well, and kind of the story of how it is that I ended up here at Snowflake and at Women in Tech. So I added this skiing picture of me. So I used to be a ski racer, and this is actually, that picture is almost exactly 2 years old, so it's not that long ago either. So when I was young, ski racing was like my whole life. It was everything I focused on. And I didn't really put too much thought into what was going to be my career. But then I got this really cool opportunity to get an athletic scholarship and ski for a university in the US. So that was really exciting. And I picked that school because they had the best ski team that I could join. And then you get the big question of like, all right, what are you going to study? I didn't know. So I took just the broadest way possible. I was like, I'm going to do business. But something that was really good for me was that in that business program, they actually had some mandatory like information systems and Excel analytics classes. So I took those classes and I realized that data was kind of cool. Like I was also actually kind of good at it. So that really sparked my interest in analytics. And then I had the chance to actually stay at the school, do some more ski racing, and do a master's program as well. So I did a master's in business analytics at the University of New Hampshire. And then about 2 years ago, the time came to put my skis to the side and actually go out in the professional world. So when I applied for jobs, not only did I find Snowflake, which was a super cool company and like the forefront of data and analytics, but I also found that it was something that still attached me to ski racing, stayed with the snow. So it kind of felt like I found my home there. And it made my transition into my professional life a little bit easier, even though I don't ski anymore. But so that's me. So my job at Snowflake, as I said, I'm part of the marketing intelligence team. That's really our BI analytics team for the marketing department. So we have a global team, but I work mostly with our EMEA region. Our sort of vision for the team is to enable the Snowflake marketing department to be the most insights-driven marketing department in the industry. It's a quite ambitious statement, but it's also quite inspiring to me. So what do? I help a lot with enablement and strategy. So the enablement piece, that can look as simple as making sure that everyone who uses data, so our marketers, actually know how to analyze that data. What does data mean? So for instance, one of my first projects that I had was I came in and I was trying to learn myself of we have all these metrics and all these dashboards. How do you navigate them? And what do different things mean? How do we actually track things? And I realized that I love data. I have a master's in business analytics, and I still find that it's kind of hard to actually understand what these metrics mean and how we track them. So how do we expect our marketers to be able to do that? So I did actually a program that we now call the Marketing Data Passport, which all our new hires go through. And it's like a lessonly track of video lessons that just goes through what are the common metrics that we use, what are the KPIs, how do we track them, and what's the definition for them. So that can be part of the enablement. Strategies, all type of ad hoc analysis on our data. Our team also has some campaign attribution models, and we do a lot of campaign performance analysis. So looking at how do we attribute our sales performance to our marketing campaigns. And then I help with target setting and tracking targets. And then last piece, which is kind of my favorite part of the job, is that we're actually our like customer zero of our product. So we on the team get to use our product and the new features on our product and our platform even before our customers do. So we get to try a lot of new things that are really at the forefront of the industry, and that's really cool. And sometimes provide feedback to the engineering team as well. So that's a little bit about me at Snowflake. Now, before we really get into the rest of the presentation, I have to show you this slide. There won't be a quiz on it, but let's get to the agenda today and what we're going to talk about. So first of all, I'm going to introduce who is Snowflake as a company, how do we came to be. So I'll tell a little bit about the story of Snowflake and our innovation journey. Then I'll introduce the AI Data Cloud, which is where Snowflake is today. And then, this is my favorite section, I'll do a demo. It's actually pre-recorded though, because I wasn't really sure of the tech setup. But I'll walk you through a demo of some of my favorite AI features that are available on the platform and how you can use them. So a little teaser, we're gonna extract insights from some unstructured data. So we have some customer reviews data, gonna extract some insights and present that data back. All right, let's get started. So Snowflake was founded in 2012. These are our French founders. It's Benoit and Thierry. At the time, they were in the forefront of the data warehousing world in Silicon Valley. And they realized that with kind of the vastly growing volume of data, the current setup that most companies have and the systems available at the time, they're not going to be able to keep up. So we want to do so much analysis of data. Already back in 2012, companies had so much data. But it's quite hard to do analysis on that data because it's siloed. It sits in a lot of different places and often so on-prem. So that makes it really hard to analyze it. Now, what they realized is that they want to make the access and the utilization of data easier. And the idea they had was to utilize the cloud to do so. So the cloud offers scalability, elasticity, and flexibility, which you can utilize to have a more modern platform. Now, the reason that what they did was a little bit different than maybe what some of the other giants in the industry were able to do is because when they founded Snowflake, there's no legacy to adapt to. So there's no old infrastructure that you need to make sure worked with the new idea. So they took 2 years to develop the first iteration of Snowflake. And during this development process, there was really one key question that was at the core, and that is, what are core requirements for a modern data platform? Now, I'm really happy that they asked this because I use Snowflake every single day, and I think it's a really cool product. So first, it needs to have speed, right? It needs to be fast. And kind of the core of this is that if you really acknowledge the fact that data is increasing at the pace that it is right now, I think there's a quote out there that's like 90% of the world's data was generated in the past 2 years or something like that, then you need to have the speed to be able to analyze that data even when the volume goes up. And so is the complexity of the jobs that we're trying to run against data. So for a modern data platform, it needs to be fast. Then it also needs to work. And when I say work, it's like it needs to just work. Because a lot of different data platforms requires manual intervention just to kind of keep running, and it's a big time suck, and it's super frustrating. So it needs to just work. And another part of that is actually that you need to be able to build in future efficiencies, improvements, and all these things that will come in the future and that will make things better. You need to be able to have those into your modern platform without the user needing to actually go and like re-download something or go through all that hassle to integrate new technology. And then it needs to be connected to what matters. So whether that is your users or your data or your partners, it really needs to be a connected platform. So this is kind of what the idea and the core requirements that the idea of Snowflake started out with. But we've been on an innovation journey ever since. So at the true core of what Snowflake is trying to solve, it's this, that every organization struggles with silos. Now, I work with data analytics at Snowflake, and I might even go to the extent to say that we still struggle with silos, and we're on Snowflake. Now, the difference is if something that I want to do an analysis on is not available in the database that I have access to, I can typically just request access. I still need to plead my business case. Why should I see this data? what's the purpose of this analysis, but then someone can just grant me access and instantly I can have access to that data. But that's not usually the story. Usually there's data silos that are on different tech stacks, they're in different regions. It might be that you have a silo with your customers, your suppliers, or third-party data that you want to bring in, making it really hard to get that unified view of all of your data. And doing analysis on silo data is complex. It's usually quite costly and time-consuming. So in 2014, when the first iteration of Snowflake was released, the idea was really this: to mobilize your own data. So you took all your different data sources and brought them together in the cloud so that you had access to all your data at the same time. Now, the second piece of this is that Snowflake separated storage and compute. And what this really does is that you have the ability to run a near unlimited number of workflows against the same copy of data at the same time. So this is a really big game changer that now, if you're running like business analytics and at the same time doing data science or some other workload, it's not impacting the performance of each other, and they can both have that fast engine because you can sort of scale up your compute separate to your storage. And then the next step was, when we had done this, there were kind of new silos that arose. So this happened when teams were situated in different regions or different countries, and also when someone was working on separate clouds, or if you had to share your data through someone external, so your customers, your suppliers, something that was not like on your original, like your data. That's what led to Snowflake's sharing capabilities. So you could connect and share data across accounts, across clouds, and across clouds. Did I say that? Regions and clouds. And then it also led to Snowflake Marketplace, which is where you can list data and purchase data, so you can get third-party data, all bring it into your unified Snowflake like UI and platform, and access all that data, be under the same sort of governance model for all that data at the same time. And then thirdly, this was a really big step, made that data programmable. It's a hard word. So in 2022, we released Snowpark, which is our programmer framework for having more coding languages available on the platform. So now you could use Python and other programming languages as well to do more work with the data. Now, if any of you guys use Python or SQL, you know there's very big differences in what you can do with different languages. So having Python really unlocked a whole range of things with data science and ML that you could do. We also acquired Streamlit, which is a tool where you can build your own applications that's integrated on the platform, so you could distribute applications and share data, making the whole Snowflake into a data platform rather than just a data warehouse in the cloud. Because now you can do so many more things with the data that is in your Snowflake account. So this was a massive milestone for especially the data science world to be able to do more data science on the platform. And I will say one thing, that it was quite timely, because does anyone remember what happened in like the world of data at the end of 2022, in November? ChatGPT was released. So now everyone is kind of asking like, all right, what do we do with AI? How can we use AI? What should I do with AI? What's everyone else doing, and how do you do it? Now, this is kind of a salesy picture, but really Snowflake's vision with all of this is that there is no AI strategy without a data strategy. And that's really why the things that I just mentioned of mobilizing your data, connecting your data so that you have like a unified data platform is so important, because that can strengthen your data foundation, so simplifying your data foundation so you have access to all data to then be able to use AI on top of it. I'll give you an example from our marketing intelligence team. One of our most used models is our lead scoring model. So basically, anyone that signs up for a campaign will go through our lead scoring model and they'll get a score. If that's a high score, then you're viewed as a high value lead, and we need to be good about following up with that lead because you have a high possibility of turning into a sales meeting. So for that model to work, we want to look at what account that you're affiliated with, what's your history of interacting with us, what country you're in, what industry the account is with, and your title and things like that. It's data that's coming from a lot of different places, and we need to start by bringing all of that data together so that we can then run the model on that. And then even to get to the third picture here of build and distribute, the third step of that is building the tool that our marketers can then use to go and evaluate their campaigns and see, okay, how many high value leads did I actually get from this? So that's kind of the whole picture, just from an example of my team. All right, so I gave you a little bit of the backstory of Snowflake up until today, but now we're at today. So today, Snowflake is the AI data cloud. And what that means is really that we've integrated the AI into the platform. So this is our architecture picture. It's okay if you don't understand it. But it's basically we have our storage at the core. So one copy of data that you can use for all your workloads. Then we have our compute layer. And then the third here, it's Cortex AI. That's our built-in suite of AI capabilities directly on the platform. And then at the end, what you see here with the dots, that's SnowGrid, which is that sharing capability that we talked about. Now, you can do a lot with AI, and there's a lot of features of AI on the platform as well. And I definitely won't stand here and say that I have my head wrapped around all of them, because I don't. But I'll share some of my favorites. So unstructured data insights, that's what we're going to show today. That's a really cool feature that we use LLMs to extract insights from unstructured data, whether that's images or text, but we're going to use text today. And then data agents and assistants, definitely the assistance part. There's an integrated assistance tool on the platform that I'll also show today, which is also my favorite tool because it makes me super productive and almost lazy at my job. But really, what I want to show with this picture is that what the AI data cloud and bringing the AI to your data, which we usually talk about, means to different personas is really different depending on what your job is. So for me, it might mean that I'm able to extract insights from unstructured data, which I wouldn't be able to do otherwise. Or if you're a developer, it might mean that you're actually able to build a customer service chatbot that uses RAG. If you watched the keynote or the first presentation this morning, they talked about RAG, where you can go look up data from documents or from stuff like that. So you can build a chatbot that would look up information from documents and then go back to whoever's chatting with it and provide answers. So you can do that. If you're a data scientist, it might mean that you can easily share and deploy your data models or your machine learning models. And if you're just a business user, maybe it means that you can actually chat and interact with your data in a no-code environment, so be able to do that easily. So it's very different depending on what type of user you are, but everyone has something that kind of works for them on the platform. But enough about that. We actually made it to my favorite part. So here I'm going to share a little bit more about what the AI Data Cloud means to me. Let's actually just get my notes out. So the example that we're using today is, see if this works. It is customer reviews from a food truck customer reviews that are very unstructured. We're going to extract the sentiment of these reviews, so seeing if they're negative reviews or if they're positive reviews. And then we're also going to make this a little bit interactive, so do some analysis, seeing which are the worst, and if we can extract more details from that, so actually get a sense of what those reviews are about. Let's start. So here, let's see if it plays. Nope. All right, let's start with looking at what columns we have in this data set. So we have like review ID, truck ID, language, the actual review, city, the date, and the brand of the truck. Is it playing? Yep. So here we're just going to look at that data. Now, notice that we had a language column. The language column is actually saying that we might not have everything in English here. So I'm just going to count now the number of reviews in different languages. We see that the majority is in English, but we do have some other languages in here as well. So now, in this piece, we're translating using our Cortex function, Cortex translate, and then Cortex sentiment to both translate all the reviews into English if they're not, and then this AI LLM-powered model to actually extract the sentiment from that review. Now, during my business analytics master's program, I got to do a sentiment analysis kind of the old-fashioned way, and it was quite complex. We had like a week-long project to do this. So you had to remove all the words that don't carry a sentiment, like and is. You had to bring them all to like the root form to make sure that you can kind of use a library then of them and see what score each word would get. You had to remove all the special signs and stuff like that. So there's a lot of data cleaning. Someone's nodding. I'm like, yes, it's painful. Yes. But here you can actually just apply this SQL query or the SQL model here. It's not a SQL model, sorry. But the SQL function of sentiment model, run it straight on that translated text, and it will output the sentiment score for that review. So that's quite cool. And it is taking a minute and a half, because I've done this before, so I know it takes a minute and a half. But that is still quite fast, considering that it's going through 118,000 reviews right now. So soon it's done. Done. Perfect. All right, so now we're just going to bucket these reviews to get to a sense of what the distribution is. So here we see the distribution of different reviews. Now, it's quite hard to just read this table and get an understanding of what the distribution looks like. And if you're actually going to analyze this, you want it in a chart form. To do that, you can't use SQL, you have to use Python. And my Python abilities, they're not the best. I'm okay with Python, but it takes a lot of time for me to actually do something in Python. It's not my core skill. So you see how I just opened Copilot. This is the AI-powered assistant on the platform. So here, I'm basically just typing to it, make a chart from the data in cell 6. So cell 6 is the name of the cell that I'm working in here. And if you're used to Snowflake, this is Snowflake notebooks that I'm using, where you can swap between Python and SQL. So now Copilot is taking my prompt here and outputting the actual code that I need to make a chart from this. Now this is really cool. This is how I'm super lazy at my job sometimes, because I will make it change colors for me and stuff. All right, so here I just added this code and I ran it. And you see it even put in the title of this. So it really understood what I'm trying to do and is outputting the distribution. So really neat. Now we can see that they're not all bad, not all good, but there are some that are apparently really bad. So I want to count the number of reviews for the negative, like the really negative reviews by the truck ID to see which truck ID actually has the most bad reviews. And truck ID number 5 here, it's not doing that great. Also 224 and 81, 436, they're all having quite a lot of bad reviews. So let's actually see what these reviews looks like. So I think there's some in here that says, never had a worse dining experience. The service was terrible. Unmitigated disaster. Like these are pretty bad. But it's still quite hard to tell, why are they bad? What's the details? What can we do about this? So we need more details. Now, here comes another AI function. So I'm just going to pause so I have time to speak as well. So this is the Cortex complete function, where you're basically calling an LLM and you can prompt it however you like. So if you've ever chatted with ChatGPT, prompted that, you can do the exact same thing here, And then you can just point it towards the column that you wanted to use the prompt on, basically. So let's read the prompt here. We're saying that you're analyzing food truck customer reviews to understand what a given review says about different relevant categories like food quality, menu options, staff, etc. And then I'm also telling it to only answer in JSON containing category, sentiment, and details. And I'm also giving it an example of the output. So I could have asked it to output any format, but the reason I'm asking it to output in JSON is because that's semi-structured data that will then allow me to turn it into structured data that we can actually use for much better analysis later on. So that's what I'm doing here. Let's play it now so we can actually see it in works. Now, I used Snowflake Arctic here. That's the LLM model that I choose to use. But you can use most of the market-leading LLMs from Google or Meta or Anthropic. They're all integrated on the platform. Even DeepSeek is there. So we'll see what the output is here. This took longer than I remembered. Exactly. All right, here we go. So now we have this JSON formatted analyze column where you have a category for, or you have different categories, you have what sentiment it was, and some more details. So now I'm just turning this semi-structured JSON data into structured format to be able to actually have a column for each of those inputs. So here, category sentiment, and then the details. Now again, we're sort of in this spot of we have all this data, but it would actually be nicer to analyze it in a chart, right? So here I'm going to ask it to take the data from cell 11 and make a chart for the top mentioned categories. Now it needs to think. I'm doing this in real time, so I haven't sped up the video, but I'm still quite impressed myself with not having to code this myself. So we add this, and then we run it. Right, so this is really good, right? But I need to dig more. I want more insights. So I'm going to tell it to also add a table to inspect the details. Remember that details column that actually had some more insights from those customer reviews. And then I also want to be able to see what this looks like for different trucks, because if I go in and actually review different truck IDs, I want to make sure that I get the specifics for those. So add a filter for truck ID. Now I'm basically asking it to build like a mini dashboard for me, which is most of my job. All right, now we'll see how it did with the mini dashboard. And there we go. So now you can actually filter for different truck IDs. You can get the category output of what the review was about from that unstructured text, and you can get the details. So you can see that the staff was unfriendly, or that the price, I don't know, the price one bottle of water, not sure if that was correct, but customers report terrible service. So there's more details here that you can actually use to improve your business now. Now, finally, I work in marketing. So for the marketing intelligence team, something I learned is that emojis makes things more fun. So I'm just going to add some more fun elements to this. I want some emojis, and since we're at Women in Tech today, I figured we have to make this chart purple as well. So adding those style elements at the end, just because. And I'm also saying please because I think it's really important that you're kind to your LLM models. I feel like that's just gonna come back in a good way someday maybe. So this is the last input to Copilot. Now, I also say that this is just one of the things that you can do with Copilot. You can ask it so many different things. But for me, using it for Python when I'm more skilled with SQL has been a game changer. And I actually use it like almost every day. So here is the last version. So we're going to run this. And now it added some emojis. It made it purple. For some reason, it renamed it to feedback analysis rather than reviews. So I'm just going to change that back. I think reviews was more appropriate. But then we actually have our final interactive tool. So we went all the way from having unstructured text data into seeing what's the category of these reviews, what are they actually talking about, what are some details in these reviews, get this actionable insight so we can do something about it. And this was in like 10 minutes. And I haven't sped up this video. So that's quite impressive to me. And it's a really game changer because I don't have that data science skill myself. I told you I did a sentiment analysis in like a week when I had a professor teaching me how to do it. It's not something that I would put on my resume as something that I'm capable of doing. So I think that these features are really cool. And what bringing the AI to your data means to me, it's really this. Let's see if I can switch slide. All right, so I hope that you enjoyed watching that little demo of kind of sharing my enthusiasm with what you're able to do with the tools that we have today. I love these features, like I already told you. And before we just wrap up, I want to kind of reconnect to the Snowflake story. So Snowflake is a growing company and also in a growing industry with kind of a growing need for every business to make sense of their data, analyze their data. So I want to share a little bit of Snowflake's growth journey. In this visualization, every dot is a Snowflake account, and every line here is actually a connection between accounts of sharing data. So this is back in April 2020, and this is just now in January 2025. So we have around 10,000 customers in virtually every single industry. I think we have 700 at least of the Forbes Global 2000 accounts. So this is really a growing field, and there's a lot of very cool things happening here. And to what I can see so far, it doesn't seem like it's really slowing down. I will say that the platform is really easy to use. I can say that firsthand. I'm coming right out of school, don't have too much professional experience being a data analyst, and been able to pick this up quite easily. So I will personally vouch for it being really easy to use. And if you're interested to learning more or getting hands-on with Snowflake, I encourage you to both join our community, Women in Snowflake. So we have on LinkedIn, and we also have user groups where you actually get to connect with women that are working on the platform. So please take these QR codes. And then I can also point you to this Zero-to-Snowflake hands-on lab where you get to follow along, actually get on a trial account and get started yourself to see how easy it is to get up and running on the platform and do some real things yourself. So absolutely check these things out. We have so much more training materials available as well if this is something that you want to use, and feel free to chat with me about that after as well. And then if you want to connect with me, please do so as well. This is the QR code to my LinkedIn. Also happy to answer any questions that you may have either here or outside after. And yeah, with that, I honestly just want to say a big thank you. Like I said, it was my first presentation of kind of my role and job. So I'm really happy to be here and happy that you listened to this. So thank you so much, and I hope that you enjoyed this session.